creator of The Vertical on Yahoo Sports, back here on the Rich Eisen Show, Adrian Wojnarwoski. How are you, Adrian?
Rich, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. What can you tell me about Curry's foot? How serious is this, Adrian?
I don't think it's my sense from talking to people is that they're being very cautious with it, Rich, and they know they can win this well. I think they felt they could win this series without him. Houston played well enough in Game 3 to win that game. But each game they hold Curry out, they're buying a couple more days of rest. But there's a belief within the Warriors that they'll be ready to go at full strength, certainly by next series. And I think there's a belief they could get out of this series without him. But if they lose Game 4, now all of a sudden it's 2-2. Now you're playing with fire. But the one thing, and people are right to be concerned with the injury because he's had those lower leg injuries early in his career, that it's not related. It's just that, players turn their ankle, they twist their foot. These things happen in the course of seasons, and that's what this is. It's not any kind of a continuation of those previous injuries that were, career-threatening, they thought, early in his Warriors tenure.
So based on what you said, we should expect Curry to sit out Game 4. If the Warriors win it, we won't see him till the next round. But if they lose it, we'll see him Game 5.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, Rich. I think they're taking this. They're really trusting him and his pain threshold. They're going to be cautious. So I don't have any. I'm not privy to know their game-by-game plan. The one thing that I do know is they don't feel this is a long-term problematic injury, that this is just one of those short-term basketball injuries you get in the course of wear and tear in a season.
What do we read out of the Rockets' reaction, or at least Dwight Howard and a couple of his teammates' non-reaction to Harden's go-ahead shot, Adrian?
What you can read out of Dwight Howard is there is no relationship there between James Harden and Dwight Howard, and that's been going on all season long. That's certainly not new. The reaction of the other guys, the only thing I would say to that is, sometimes when you look up and there's 2 seconds left on the clock, and the other team has a chance to come back and win the game, you're not celebrating like you've won the game. That's the only thing. You can catch a lot of things with the camera, Rich, and I know it's easy to just, with the Rockets and the level of dysfunction that's been there with that group, it's easy to write it off as, well, guys don't care about winning. It didn't matter to them. The only thing I'd say to that is there were a couple seconds left on the clock, and there is that nervousness of, I don't want to start celebrating now. We haven't won the game yet. So that's the only thing I'd say about that snapshot.
Adrian Wojnarwoski joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. This is the first time we've spoken in a while, so I'm going to ask you about a couple of things that have been out there for a while. The whole LeBron James defollowing the Cavs, et cetera, going into the playoffs, and many people reading into the fact that he still has wanderlust if the Cavs don't get it done this year. Is that still in the ether, Adrian? Should we be concerned about this, or Cavs fans be concerned about this moving through May into June?
I don't know if one has anything to do with the other, Rich. I think LeBron loves to do things that draw attention to himself, and he knows when he does something on social media that, it's going to gain attention for him. He loves that. He loves the drama. He loves creating drama. And a level of chaos, he seems to thrive in it. I'm not sure everybody else around him thrives in it, but he does thrive in it. As long as he stays on these one-year contracts, Rich, it's going to be a question. It's a fair question. There would be certainly tremendous ramifications if he were to leave Cleveland. If he wanted that to be his home long-term, if he wanted to be able to go back there, it would be hard after a second time. But I guess I would never rule anything out with him. He loves to create a firestorm. He loves, and there's no greater way to get attention and to make it about you than if you left again. But that's not saying he's going to. But as long as he does these one-year contracts, and he could do another one-year deal and then do that long 5-year deal when the salary cap goes up, this may be how it is with him for the next year, maybe the next 24 months. Him on one-year deals.
Maybe he wants to move out west just to get away from Stanley Johnson because Stanley's in his head, Adrian. You know what I mean? Get a different conference in Stanley.
There's no question about that. And I love for Detroit, they're getting an identity in this series. Stan Van Gundy, they didn't love what Stanley Johnson did. He's 19 years old. But I'll tell you this, if you're a coach in this league, you love the fact that your players aren't out there looking for LeBron's autograph. And there are a lot of guys in this league, like, it's as if they want LeBron's autograph. Stanley Johnson said, we're going to compete against you. Now, was it the smartest thing in the world to handle it that way? Maybe, maybe not. You're not making LeBron play any harder by doing that. He's already playing at a high level. But I think it's great ultimately for this Detroit franchise that is really building an identity around a really promising group of young players. Understand, and I think that this playoff experience is going to be really positive for them going forward.
Adrian Wojnarwoski of the Must Read the Vertical on Yahoo.com, Yahoo Sports, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Speaking of coaching in this league, Scott Brooks is going to do it again in Washington, D.C., and obviously he had many years in Oklahoma City where Kevin Durant played, and everybody knows in the Mid-Atlantic, boy, would Kevin Durant coming home be just something special. I know Chris Mannix of your site wrote that don't read much into connecting these dots, but everybody's doing that, Adrian. You've got the floor. Help us out here on that.
Now, there's no cause and effect. Washington hired Scott Brooks because they thought he was the best coach on the market. Teams who did their research, who had openings, who did their research with Scott Brooks around Kevin Durant's people, the information they got back was it's not going to be a positive and it's not going to be a negative if you have Scott Brooks when we go into free agency. It's neutral. And bigger than Scott Brooks in Washington, and I've written this before, Chris Mannix on the Vertical really laid it out for readers today. Washington is not a serious consideration for Kevin Durant. It's never been. Anybody who knows Kevin, who is close with him, will tell you that going home does not appeal to him. And the idea of the Wizards, if he leaves Oklahoma City, it's going to be somewhere else.
So what do you think the leading contenders for his services are going to be? What do you think the hot story is going to be late June, early July for Kevin Durant, Adrian?
The one thing about Kevin is he's easily intrigued with what's out there. And he really is looking forward to this courtship, I'm told. Listen, I still think a very real possibility is him doing a one-year deal in Oklahoma City. And then next year, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, those guys will all be free agents at the same time. And then he can sign a larger money contract than he can this year based on the salary cap structure. But teams like Golden State, as I wrote earlier in the year, the Clippers, don't rule out San Antonio, Miami, Boston if he wants to come east and not have to go through all those teams in the West. Those are all real possibilities. But here's the thing. Everybody's going to have salary cap space. Or if you don't have it, you're going to be able to easily go get it. So the whole league will be an option for him largely. But I think Golden State has a better chance of getting Kevin Durant if they don't win the championship. I think if they're back-to-back, if they're two-time champions, I think it's harder for him in his mind to go there because they almost have everything to lose. But if somehow Golden State lost to the Spurs in the conference final or lost to Cleveland in the finals, I do think that would help their cause to get Durant.
And then my hometown of New York City, Adrian, 2018, Phil Jackson will be either A, on a new contract running the Knicks, B, running the Lakers, C, out of basketball. What do you think?
I don't think it'll be on a new contract running the Knicks. I think this is a one-contract deal for him. Whether he finishes out this deal or not remains to be seen. Listen, he has an opt-out next year, and I know a lot of people think in Los Angeles that Jeannie Buss will bring him back to run the Lakers I don't think there'll be a great deal of enthusiasm for that in L.A. There's nothing outside of drafting Kristaps Porzingis, which you have to give him credit for.
Yeah.
But he was at number 4. Kristaps was the obvious player on the board. It wasn't like Kristaps was going to drop to 7 or 8. Orlando would have taken Kristaps Porzingis 5th. So it's not as if he was a visionary with Porzingis, but he did do the right thing, and you get credit for that. But if he keeps Kurt Rambis, and that's how the Knicks are going to go forward, it is not going to go well with the Knicks. If that's what they do, and if they keep trying to run the triangle, even against the wishes of free agents who aren't dying to sign up for that, or free agents who aren't dying to play for Kurt Rambis, then the way this could go in the next couple of years, New York may not want to keep him, never mind L.A. taking him. So I don't know if Phil is on a course right now to have a great deal of success in this job.
So basically what you're telling me, Adrian Wojnarwoski of The Vertical, is that the Knicks finally get Phil Jackson to come home to New York City to try and set things straight. And his way of doing things is viewed by the rest of the league as outdated, outmoded, and no one wants a piece of it. Is that what you just told me, essentially what it is?
That's largely true. That's largely true.
Oh, my gosh.
But listen, I think that I thought Phil did a good job in free agency last summer. Robin Lopez and Aaron Follow, and they brought some good pieces in. But I think the idea of the obsession with running the triangle, this league is about adapting to your talent, not driving a system home no matter what the players or Greg Popovich. You look at San Antonio, and they've evolved and evolved and evolved based on their personnel, based on the way they thought they could win. They went bigger this year. They sort of reverted back to being a big team. So we can't beat Golden State playing like Golden State anymore. So now we're going to go bigger, and that's how they're pursuing this. Now, the Knicks, I just think with this style of play and the triangle and the fact that players know that the guys who are in it don't love it, that makes it harder to recruit to.
Adrian, thanks. Really love chatting with you. Love your site. Congratulations on that. And I'd love to have you back as many times as you're willing. Really do enjoy it.
Absolutely. Rich, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your kind words.
Of course. You got it. Adrian Wojnarwoski.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.